So in this virtual session, we will continue with chapter 3, Style Sheets, CSS. So before starting this session, I will ask you some questions to review all topics covered in face-to-face class. So my first question is about CSS. So what is CSS? CSS, cascading style sheets. Yes, so CSS is a style sheet language. So CSS is a style sheet language used for describing the presentation of a document written in a markup language. So we can, Mr. Ahmed, we can use CSS with XML. So it is a language used for describing the presentation of a document written in markup language. Markup language can be XML, can be HTML, etc. It's clear, Mr. Asim? Good. Second question, how we can create a style sheet for an HTML document? So to describe a style for an HTML document, how we can create this style? Yes, we can use, we use only CSS now. We must use CSS plus HTML or CSS plus XML. So CSS is a language to describe the style of another document written in markup language, like an HTML document or an XML document, etc. So the second question, how we can create a style for an HTML document? So CSS plus Java. We cannot create a CSS document to a Java class. This is your question, Mr. Asim? JavaScript, yes. So we can use JavaScript, and with JavaScript we can modify the style of an HTML document. Okay? So JavaScript will be used to modify the CSS file or the style of an HTML document. So to create a style for an HTML document, there are three manners. The first one is to create a CSS document. So we create a file and after that we make a link with this file like this. So this is a link to an external file. So we write link rel equals style sheet type equal text CSS, and after that we specify the URL or the name of our CSS file with href equal style1.css. So this is the first manner. In this case we have an HTML document plus a CSS document. This is the first manner to apply a style to a document, to a CSS document. The second manner is we can use in the same class like this, the tag style. So we use the tag style in the same HTML document. This tag will be under the tag head. So in this case we just use an HTML document. So in the HTML document we have a style tag, and into this style tag we can write our rules, our CSS rules. The third manner is to specify directly the style in the tag like this. This is an example like this. So in this case we will use not the tag style but the attribute style. Attribute style. So keep in mind there are three manners to create a style for an HTML document. The first manner to use an external file, a CSS file, and for this one we use link style. We use the tag link with rel equal style sheet type equal text CSS, and in the href we specify the name of the CSS document. The second manner is to we can use the tag style under the tag head, and the third manner we can use the attribute style in any tag, p, table, tr, etc. It's clear for you? Any question about how we can create a style for an HTML document? It's clear for you? Just a moment to... Is the CSS used only for style and design of colors and other appearance document only? Yes. So CSS is used only to describe the presentation of a document using colors, using we can create animation using JavaScript and CSS, for example. Ahmed, attribute, not tag. Here, attribute. So here, style is an attribute. We can also use style as a tag. Is the second manner. Okay. So the question is, what is the advantage if we use an external file, the advantage of the first manner, what is the advantage? So if we will use this manner, what is the advantage? Why we create a separate CSS file? Portable, to be easy to edit anytime. It can be used, yes, good. So the response is it can be used on multiple HTML files. So we use a separate a CSS file to apply the same style to many HTML documents. It's clear? Yes, for many. So the advantage is to apply the same style to many HTML documents. Okay. Third question, how we can define a CSS rule? So for example, for Java, if we talk about the language Java, how we can create an instruction. So an instruction, we for example, x equal 3 plus 1 semicolon. But in CSS, if we want to create a rule or an instruction, how we can create this rule? So to create a rule, we must use selector string. After that, this is begin of the rule. This is the and between the begin and the end we have property column x declaration. Property declaration, and we separate this property declaration using semicolon in green. So to create a rule, a CSS rule, we use a selector. After that begin, after that property name declaration, semicolon, another property name declaration, etc. After that the end of this rule. It's clear? Any question? Okay. Not case sensitive, yes. So if we write P, what's the meaning of P? Yes, selector. That means this style will be applied only to all the tags P. all the tags P, the text in all the tags P will be font size smaller and letter spacing 1. Good. What's the meaning of this selector as P1? Yes, that means this style will be applied to all the tags with ID equal P1 or ID equal P3. ID equal P1 or ID equal P3. Star is an universal selector. So this is a paragraph with ID equal P3. So ID is an attribute. ID is an attribute. What is the meaning of .taqniyat? .taqniyat. So .taqniyat, it is a class selector. That means all the tags with attribute class, not ID, class. So here, for example, for this tag span, we have how many classes? We have the class TakeNote, another class special, and another class school. So this style will be applied to this tag. Why? Because it has the class TakeNote. Any question about class and ID? Okay, so if we write, for example, span.special or P, for example, P.level, what's the meaning of this selector? P.level or span.special? Anything next to TakeNote, count it as class. Now, here it is count like special and cool. Yes, in this. Yes, here when we write span class equal TakeNote space after that special, after that space, after that cool, that means this text or this content will be, and span here, belong to the class TakeNote, the class special, and the class cool. So for this text, for example, the font style will be italic. If we find another rule like this, cool, and here a rule, also this rule will be applied to this text. Why? Because we have also the class cool. It's clear, Ahmed? Yes. So Special is another class, school is another class, yes. So what's the meaning of p.level or span.special? The meaning of this selector. So for this selector, that means we will select all paragraphs, yes or no? This selector. We will select all paragraphs or no? Yes. So we will select all the paragraph with the class equal level. Not all the paragraph, but only specific paragraph with class equal level. Here, for example, we will select all the tags span with the class equal special. So span.special, this rule applies only to spans belonging to class special, not all the span. It's clear for you? This selector is clear? Any question about x.y? So if we find x.y in CSS file, that means all the tags x with the class y. Also, we can find the pseudo property like this, pseudo classes like this. A column link, A visited, A hover, A activate. So this is a style to anchor. That means when we visit a link, the color will be yellow. If the link is activated, the color is red. It's clear? What is the meaning of this selector? UL space OL space LI. That means this style will be applied to LI. But this LI must belong to OL, and OL must be under or a part of UL. Yes. So rules applies to LI, element that is part of the content of an OL element, that is part of the content of a UL element. It's clear? Good. So we can import the CSS file by using @import URL and after that the name of this CSS file. So this rule must appear at the beginning of style. Just a moment. Mr. Faisal, you have a question. Can I put anything against OL? Here? I don't understand your question, Mr. Faisal. You can put, for example, your question, can I answer against OL? Yeah. Here, this is just an example. But if we write like this, for example, if we write TRLI, this is your question. Can I write like this? Yes or no? So yes, you can write. This is a rule. The CSS rule, and after that, when we apply the CSS file to our HTML, this rule will be applied to LI under TR. So we can write any rule. Just keep in the mind that if we write X space Y, that means this rule will be applied to the tag Y, and that tag must be under the tag X. Okay, let's move now. So import must appear at the beginning of style sheet. So let's move now to an important topic in CSS. The topic is CSS rule cascade. So why we talk about cascading style sheet? What is more than one style declaration applies to a property of an element? For example, here we have star font weight bold and IDP3 font weight normal. So we will apply this rule or this rule for a tag with ID equal P3. This is the question. So the CSS rule cascade determines which style rules declaration applies. So the CSS rule cascade determines which rules declaration applies. So if we want to apply any rule without this rule cascade, we use important. So important like this is used to say that rules is important. So apply this rule. It's clear? So if we want to apply a rule, in this case we use important. But if we have many rules, that can be applied in the same tag. In this case, we must apply the CSS rule cascade. So CSS rule cascade, the first level is style attribute. Style attribute is the first level. That means if we have, for example, P ID equal X, and here we have a style, and in this style we have a rule of CSS, and in the CSS file we have HID with another rule X, HX with another rule. So in this case we can apply this rule or this one. So if we have the same rule, we apply the style attribute rule. After that we apply the ID in the second level. After that the class. After that descendant element. After that universal like star. After that HTML attribute. HTML attribute, like for example H1 will be specified by a length, etc. It's clear CSS rule or not? Any question about CSS rule? Okay. Let's move now to CSS font properties. So a font family is a collection of related fonts. For example, here when we write P style font family Jenkins v2.0, this is a font family, and the font family can accept a list of families including generic font families. So this is an example. This is the property, and this is the declaration. This is the fourth choice of font family. If this choice is not finding, we can use the second one. If the second one is not, we cannot find this second one, we can use the third one, etc. So font family property can accept a list of families. Many properties such as font size have a value that is CSS length. So all CSS length values except 0 needs units. There are many unit identifier in CSS. We can find in, meaning inch, cm centimeters, mm millimeters, pt points, pc picus, etc. So there are many font size. Any questions? There are also other ways to specify value for font size. We can use percentage. So if we write font size like this with a percentage, that means the font size of this tag will be, in our example, 85% of the font size of the parent tag. So the percentage of parent font size. It's clear for the percentage. If we write font size like this, we can use absolute size. So absolute size, that means we use keyword like XX small, X small, medium, large, X large, etc. So if we go higher, the font will be more than the parent font size. Yes, we can go higher. Relative size, we can write smaller, larger, and in this case the size will be relative to parent element's font. So keep in the mind that there are many ways to specify the font size. We can use a value, and in this case we must specify the unit of this value within cm, pt, pc, etc. We can also use percentage of parent font size, absolute size, or relative size. Additional font style properties. So we can use font style, we can use font weight, we can use font variant. So there are many font properties. We can use font weight with the value bold or normal, font variant with small caps which displays lowercase characters using uppercase or normal. Also, there is another important topic in CSS, the shortcut property. So what's the meaning of shortcut property? When we write font like this, not font size or font style or font height or font family, just font, and after that we write italic, bold, 12 pt, Helvetica, sans serif. This is Helvetica sans serif is the same. This is a shortcut property. We can write the same rule, CSS rule, like this. We specify font style italic, font variant normal, font size 12, line height normal, and font family Helvetica sans serif. It's clear how we can write shortcut. So here we use only font. Yes, we can use only one line code, but we can use many. Here is the shortcut. We specify just font, not font style. After that, italic, that means font style. Bold, that means font weight. 12, that means font size, etc. Any question? So for text formatting, there are many properties in CSS like text decoration, and in this case we can specify, for example, underline, overline, etc. Letter spacing, normal, or a length representing additional space, word spacing, text transform. We can write, for example, uppercase, lowercase, etc. And there are many other properties in text formatting. For text color, we can use color name like black, gray, silver, white, red, etc. Or we can also specify the value of red, green, blue. Okay, like this. So for this color, we must specify the value of the red, green, and blue. So to specify the value of the red, green, blue, we can use this function RGB, or with percentage, or with hexadecimal value, or with abbreviated hexadecimal. Also in CSS we can talk about box model. So what is the meaning of box model? Every rendered element occupies a box, like the occupied a box, and after that we can talk about content area, padding area, border area, and margin area, and we can specify the value of box. So for CSS commands, you must understand all the CSS commands, and after that, before midterm, I will send you a study guide, and in this study guide we will specify what are the commands to memorize. So we will just choose a few commands to memorize. Also for HTML document, HTML code, the tags in. Welcome. So for box model, this is a schema, and in this schema we specify all the values: margin left, border left, padding, etc. So we can write, for example, padding and after padding, the first value is for the top, right, bottom, left. The first value is this value, top, after that right, after that bottom, after that left. So if we write, for example, padding 5, 6, 7, 8, that means the padding top is 5, the padding right is 6, the padding bottom is 7, the padding left is 8. So also we can specify the border of this box using border and border style, border width, etc. So this is an example. If we write border, after that this value, and after that border left with override the border left value, and we will use this new border value. So for backgrounds, we can find background color, specifies background color for content, and background image with URL that will be tiled over an element. This is an example of background image. So if we write body style background image URL this value, the image will be applied many times in the background. So this is the image that we applied many times. Yes, it should be on the same page. So we can use visibility to hidden a part of a document, and display also to modify the display of a tag or a part of a document. Just a moment, I want to save the attendance. Web Technologies. Okay, thank you for your presence, and see you next week, inshallah. You are welcome. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.